What's going on, guys? It's Evil Eddie from Pure Evil MMA, frontproofmedia.com, giving you my live reaction for BJ Penn versus YAIR Rodriguez for UFC Phoenix. Absolutely crazy. I guess it's safe to say the UFC was right. A lot of you guys were right out there. I should have stuck with my main pick of YAIR Rodriguez. I should have known better. But as we were getting closer to the fight, I started building up more confidence in BJ, seeing him at the weigh-ins especially and the open workouts. He looked good. He looked like he wanted to be there, like he had purpose to fight, like he was motivated, focused. And tonight, even the walkout. Don't tell me when you're watching him walk out that he looked like he was doing big things tonight. But once the octagon door closed and I saw YAIR come out, I couldn't really get a big vibe off of him. I mean, he always looks like he's happy, confident, and just relaxed. And a lot of you guys were talking about this is a new era versus old school era. And I know BJ said it in his thing. And boy, he ran into a huge wall tonight. And what we mean by this new era, when we say it's a new era, that there's more dynamic to the fighting. Like you saw tonight, we all expected YAIR to be spinning and throwing the kicks, but BJ just looked like a little old man in there. Not what I wanted to see. I don't even think BJ thought he was going to look like that. I don't know what was going on. And this brings me back to what I started this off saying was the Dennis Seaver fight was the fight for BJ. Why are you having him go in there against this young gun who you're trying to build off of? The UFC barely even promoted this fight. So it's almost like they allowed BJ to come and fight knowing that he was going to lose. Why are you going to match him up with YAIR Rodriguez? Bad idea. And of course, we talked about this on Evil and Intoxicated on Wednesday night with Ted Check, and we called it, man. Like, what can we say about this that we didn't expect, really? BJ Penn walked in there. He looked great walking out, but it was the same thing that we saw in the last fight when he was fighting Frankie Edgar. He just looked awkward and like he wasn't controlling his body almost. And it's awful when you see, people that you grow up watching and loving and idolizing get rocked like that and do the dip dance. You don't want to see that. And tonight, it was very hard for me to watch. I'm sure it was hard for a lot of you guys to watch, and I'm a huge BJ fan. I know everyone's a BJ fan. If you're an MMA fan, you're a BJ Penn fan. And tonight, it just... what is there to really say besides it was not fun to watch? That was very hard for me to watch. But we're going to get into that a little bit later. We're going to rewind a little bit. First off, if you've never tuned into this channel, I'm Evil Eddie from Pure Evil MMA, frontproofmedia.com, bringing you guys shows every week on Apple iTunes, interviewing Titan FC, Valerie Fight, Shamrock FC, UFC. I'm going to be interviewing Jimmy Rivera this week, the number 4 ranked bantamweight. He's going to be coming on Pure Evil MMA to discuss his up-and-coming fight. Of course, his fight with Brian Caraway got called off. And everyone says, Caraway was kind of run from that fight. We're going to figure out what Jimmy Rivera thinks about that. Also, Jose Shorty Torres stops by Pure Evil MMA because he's going to be fighting on UFC Fight Pass coming up next weekend against the veteran Pedro Nobre. So let's rewind a little bit. In our co-main event, we found Joe LAUZON going to be against Marcin Held. We all expected it was going to be a great match, a great grappling fight. That's one thing that we all knew was going to happen. But Joe, to my argument, definitely rocked Held a few times into the fight, and Held did what his bread and butter is. Brought him right up against the cage. He did a lot of smart fighting, but LAUZON going with the big shots, even getting the armbar at one point in the fight. But the level changes and the takedowns of Held was just too much for LAUZON and almost overwhelming at certain times. And even he said he didn't think that he won this. As I was filling out the post-fight results for everybody on Twitter at Pure Evil MMA, I have my picture of pretty much this. Here, I'll pull it up for you guys. Well, I was filling it out as if Held won the fight. Because on my scorecard, I don't know, that first round I had it 10-9. But then I was like, maybe Marcin won that. Maybe Held won that first round. Second round, I gave to LAUZON. Third round for Held. But a lot of people had it for Held winning this fight. And I don't blame them. I could see where they're coming from. And that's my mistake for looking on Twitter and being like, oh, well, maybe I was wrong. Maybe Held is the winner. But even LAUZON said, I don't think I won this fight. And that's not a bad thing. You should be thinking that. Almost every fight you should be thinking, there's something I can be improving on. Well, here we saw Joe LAUZON, the vet from Tough 5. The guy who took out Little Evil back in the day. We saw him looking good tonight, and I was happy because his last fight against Jim Miller, I thought he could have done more in that fight. And we all know at UFC 200 against Diego Sanchez, knocking him out cold in the first round. Some people at that point in time were saying, we could be seeing LAUZON in the championship soon. I was like, whoa. LAUZON's good, but he's hot and cold. Tonight he got the win, but he says there's a lot he can be improving on, and we're going to have to see. We all expected Hell to have great ground game, great grappling between the two, but not what we all expected when the judges were like, well, we got the scored for LAUZON. Got to remember there are new rule changes tonight, guys. In 2017, we have new rules than we did last year. We talked about it on the UFC podcast that we just did on Pure Evil MMA up on iTunes. What did you guys think about this fight? Let me know on Twitter at Pure Evil MMA. Let me know what you thought about that BJ fight. We're going to be getting back into that in just a second. And then we had Court McGee versus Ben Saunders. Great fight, EBI fighter with Eddie Bravo, Saunders going in there. Much respect for both these guys, but it was hard for me to pick. We were talking about with Ted. Ted was saying that he thought McGee was going to be able to get a knockout here. He clipped Saunders a couple of times, but there was one point in that fight where Saunders landed a brutal kick that just echoed through my TV so loud. The Twitter universe went crazy over that, and a lot of people aiming towards Saunders. I had the first round 10-9 McGee. But like I said, this fight could have won either way either. Saunders, here's what I had. Round 1, 10-9 for Saunders. I'm sorry about that. Round 2, I had it 10-9 for McGee. Round 3, 10-9 for McGee. But that last round could be either or. That's what I was trying to switch it up with right there. So before that, we had Showtime Pettis versus Moraga. Great fight. 60% of the fans voted for Pettis going into this fight on UFC.com. I had round after round after round going for Pettis. Every time that Moraga goes up against the guy that has similar body types as Showtime Pettis' little brother, it's a tough night for him. And Moraga, he's a great fighter. We've been watching for a long time. He's got power. He seemed really confident with the power tonight, but the kicks and the counters of Pettis, and he was just warming up as the night went on. Sergio looked absolutely amazing tonight. He's been on a killing spree. We were talking about it. Was his home life going to start bothering him? Because we all know that Showtime Pettis, even though he didn't show much of it in his fight with Max Holloway, we all know that there's a lot going on back home with vandalizing the houses and the cars and stuff like that. It ain't bothering Pettis. This ain't no thing for Pettis. He went in there, did his thing, showing everybody why he's dominant in that division. He's gotten a lot bigger than he was when we first saw him break onto the scene. Taking out a tough vet like Moraga makes everybody know that Showtime Pettis' little brother is here to stay, and we're going to be seeing another new era of fighters. This was a great night. Pettis, of course, BJ Penn getting TKO'd by the new era of El Bandera, the Panther. Great night for Pettis. Going to be celebrating that for sure with his big brother. And then before that fight, we had Powell versus Close. Now, Powell, we found him on that season of Dana White looking for a fight. Our buddy Sean Gilday from Combat Sports Nation was actually there watching that fight while Dana was there. I didn't really expect Powell to have that great of a debut. I know a lot of fighters get nervous when they come in for the debut. You got the light, you got that smell of popcorn and beer, like YAIR says, and something hits you. And whether you grow from that, you smell that and it brings you to life, or you smell that and you're like, shit, am I ready for this moment? Do I have what it takes to take this guy out? When he got in there that first round, it didn't seem that way. Second round, it seemed like Powell was warming up, but Close, man, he was confident in the power that he was just going to take this dude out, that he thought all he had was that leg kick, and that's all he showed. This is his debut fight, Powell. Close going in there, I gave him all 3 rounds, 10, 10, and 10. And then before that, Frankie Saenz versus Mendez. Decision win for Mendez. I was rooting for Frankie Saenz. We all know that he's a tough son of a gun. We know he got a chin in his last fight with that fight that he had with Frankie Edgar. I mean, not Frankie Edgar. What the hell am I saying? No, Faber. He had that last fight with Faber. Faber rocks him early in that first round. Frankie Saenz comes back, survives it. And, of course, he didn't win that fight, but we all know that he's been through so many great fights, and he's got the chin. You're not going to drop him. It's going to take a lot if you think you're going to finish Frankie. Therefore, you got 3 rounds. You break him down slowly. I think Mendez did a great job in the first round. Second round, Frankie started warming up. He started delivering back, but he just kept getting caught. 3 rounds goes to Mendez. Then we had Pesta versus Olenek. submission round 1 with the Ezekiel choke. Never been done before in the UFC. Was anyone else as shocked as I was? You saw him on the back and just choking him out with the Ezekiel choke. So happy that they pointed that out. I was in stall. Andrew Calangelli from Bellator was tweeting out. He was like, "What the hell was that? How do you get submitted while you're on top?" Well, you got somebody like Olenek on top of you who's beat many of veterans. Pulling out the Ezekiel choke. I mean, anything can happen when you put those two in there. So then we had Martin versus White. Dominant performance for Martin. He takes it. Ansaroff, girlfriend of Amanda Nunes. Great job for her. Going in there, getting the submission in round 2. Dominant performance by her. Started off a little rocky in the first round. Ended up coming back later in that first round. Takes it. Submission win. Dominant win. Great night. And her post-fight speech was the best part because she was like, "What got me pumped up was watching my girlfriend beat Ronda Rousey's ass." So I wonder what's next for this girl. And then Harris versus Sherman. Harris getting the knockout round 2 over Sherman. Great fight. I thought Sherman could have done a little more. He had great footwork, but he wasn't moving his head enough. He was getting caught. Harris should have known was going to get the knockout round 2. Shout out to all of you guys out there that made your picks on UFC Pick for Pure Evil MMA. We're going to be announcing that on the Pure Evil MMA podcast. Coming up, I'll be releasing that tomorrow. Let's get back into that BJ Penn fight, though. What did you guys think about this? It was like I said, very hard for me to watch BJ going in there. I was getting hyped up watching him. I wasn't really expecting much. I was excited that he was making his return. They said it was going to be against Dennis Seaver. Then they said it was going to be against Ricardo Lamas. Then they said it was going to be against YAIR. Only time I wish that it didn't happen was against YAIR. This was a tough match for BJ Penn. If BJ Penn beat YAIR Rodriguez tonight, he was going to stun the world. Everyone was going to be shocked. I changed my pick to BJ Penn. I brought a little faith back into myself with BJ when I saw him come back for the open workouts. When I saw him come back at the weigh-ins, I saw his mentality. I talked with people in his training camp. I talked with Rob Emerson, who he talked with and trains with. I felt confident. Boy, was I wrong. YAIR Rodriguez, and I should have stuck with it. I made my pick earlier in the week and changed it. Always a bad idea. When your heart says something but your brain says something else, it's a hard thing to go off of. My heart said BJ, my head said YAIR, and look what happens here. I want this to be a lesson to everybody. This happened to me once again. I know I called it earlier in the year when I said Bisping was going to get the knockout. Very confident that Bisping was going to get the win over Rockhold. You all thought I was crazy. What'd I say? But BJ Penn, not performing to what I thought he could. I thought he could have done a lot better tonight. I think once he got kicked with there were a couple points in that fight where BJ got rocked early on in that first round and couldn't shake the cobwebs off. It was hard to watch, guys, and I don't know what BJ's going to do from this point on, but when you get knocked out like that by a young gun, that's intimidating, and I think BJ got intimidated for the first time in his career. I mean, we've seen him take out legends in the cage. Matt Hughes, we saw him fight Frankie successfully once, but still, BJ Penn versus Kenny Florian, classic fight. And for Kenny was even like, wow, that is not the BJ Penn that I fought. Let me tell you that much. It's a new era, guys. We called it in 2016. There's a lot of young guns, and we're going to be talking about this on the end of the year show that we're going to be doing. We're going to be recording it this week with a bunch of guests from Bloody Elbow, Combat Sports Nation, Mean Gene's Fight Scene. It's going to be a blast this week. BJ Penn, what do you guys think? Is he going to be making a return? Was this just a bad matchup? Should they have picked someone better for YAIR Rodriguez? I want to see YAIR get a challenge. I mean, we know that he's good, but we want to see him going in there against somebody else that we know is good. That's somebody else that's coming up. Not somebody that's making a return on their retirement. And there was a point where YAIR even said, if I beat BJ Penn, I think I'm going to get the title shot. No, man, there's no way. If you think BJ was fighting tonight like he was when he was the double champ, you're wrong. You're so wrong. Boy, you're wrong. It's upsetting to watch BJ go out like that. I wish they gave him somebody else here, and that's the reason why the UFC didn't promote it that much, in my opinion. I called this out before. I didn't think the UFC was confident in BJ's return. He said he wanted to come back. He went to the right camp. We all knew and said, if there's one place, if there's one camp, if there's one gym, if there's one person BJ should go to while making his return, it should be down in New Mexico in Albuquerque. And that's what he did. I want to know what they think about this. I want to know what Winklejohn and everybody thinks about this. We're going to have to wait and see at the post-fight wrap-up. It's going to be going down right now. We didn't get a chance to hear from BJ Penn because they're not interviewing anyone that gets TKO'd anymore. The new rules are now in effect, guys. We saw some of them go into effect tonight. Some of the fighters still aren't even aware, exactly what the judges are looking for yet. But you got a fight like Joe LAUZON versus Marcin Held. Let's rewind that fight. Let's see what everyone else says in the MMA media about this. We're going to have to review this. We'll get back to all of you guys this week on Pure Evil MMA. This is going to be a huge discussion this week. Yair Rodriguez making a huge splash. Amanda Nunes' girlfriend, Ansaroff, making a huge submission win tonight. Frankie Saenz not getting the win. Close, not even close. That was what's going on around on Twitter. Showtime Pettis' little brother. It's a hashtag new era. Let's go. Pure Evil MMA wants to know what you guys think is next for Yair Rodriguez. Have a great night. Thanks for making your picks on UFC Pick'em. Enjoy your night. And remember, behave yourselves, guys. I'll be back. Evil Eddie from Pure Evil MMA, frontproofmedia.com. I'm out. Woo! Make sure you guys all check out Pure Evil MMA episode number 33, Jet Black New Year. Had a great discussion with a bunch of people for our UFC 207 roundtable discussion with Kerry Stellar and Ben Hacker. Also, King Kevy. Members of the week are announced. Kelvin Tiller, who just fought Shamrock FC. Garrett Gross, 2017 news. The new MMA rules. Also, Deron Carlos. And then I had a huge announcement. Episode number 34 coming at you this week with Titan FC and the champ, Jose Shorty Torres. Subscribe on iTunes, guys, at Pure Evil MMA, podbean.com, and follow us on Twitter at Pure Evil MMA. Behave yourselves.